Hi, my name is Calvin Redding with Innovar Healthcare. I'm going to take you through a tour today of our BridgeLink WebAdmin. WebAdmin is a browser-based administration client for the BridgeLink integration engine, and it's designed to replace the classic Java-based administrator launcher combo. You might know the name Swing client, all that stuff, to kind of do away with that and move us into a more modern era. I'm not going to cover everything we've built and every improvement we've made in here, but I do want to cover some highlights, some things I think most users will find useful. Let's go ahead and begin. So, of course, from the main screen here, if you're accustomed to that classic UI, this looks different, right? A little fresher, a little more pop, some improvements and distinctions of some of the user elements and how they're kind of arranged and how they look and so forth. Also, we can see on the left, we have a different kind of menu, right? And we'll talk through that in a moment. Before I begin clicking things, I do want to mention one of my favorite things about this is the responsiveness is a little bit better, right? It's just simply faster than the old client, and that's a nice everyday thing to deal with. The other one is, and this is sort of hard to replicate in a demonstration, but with the classic client, if you get disconnected, it kicks you out and says you have to log back in again. It's really obnoxious when your VPN connection drop and that happens, something like that. In this situation, if you're momentarily disconnected, that doesn't necessarily harm this, meaning once the connection's restored, you can click refresh and just pick up where you left off. So being disconnected for 30 seconds no longer is a death sentence for whatever you are working on. Now over here on the left, this navigation menu on the left, people who are accustomed to working in BridgeLink will notice this looks different, but we see a lot of familiar stuff in here. The dashboard's here, channels are here, settings are here, and there's some things that have been promoted, and there's some new stuff, and we'll talk through some of these things in a little bit. The first thing I want to draw your attention to is this little moon icon down here. When I click this, that enables dark mode. So this is the very first time we've had that in BridgeLink. Nice creature comfort topic. To the left of that, we also have this compactness setting. Now, right now I have this set to the highest compactness, or the most dense. That's how I prefer it. But we can relax it to a larger font size. If you want things to be scaled a little bigger, there's kind of a middle one. I can go full circle back to the small one. Again, I prefer the small one. That's really just my opinion. Now here in the dashboard, we see there's a few changes. There's some little things that are obvious. The status column now contains an icon, this little green or red dot instead of the word started. One of the perhaps most interesting changes is the port numbers now visible here in this port number column. So you don't have to go check channel by channel or memorize them or document them in the channel description or whatever. It's easy to see right here at the top. Another change here is the server log, or this whole bottom portion of the screen. This can be completely collapsed. It's also resizable, but you can collapse it. If you simply don't want to see it, you don't have to see it at all. You'll also notice there's a toolbar down here. We haven't really had this toolbar before. That's something new. It's also customizable. If I select a channel, some of these buttons light up. I can do things like move this over to the left. I prefer mine back where it was, but you can kind of put it really wherever you want it to be, right? Kind of a nice feature. We can also turn on the current statistics for the server by clicking the stats button to get some cards up here. Of course, we can turn that back off again. There's some other buttons here I won't get into too much right now. I can download a kind of a state of what we're looking at. There's a lot of other options here that we're accustomed to seeing in the old UI. Which stats are we looking at? Do we want to see labels? All that kind of stuff. That hasn't changed a whole lot. Let's jump into the channel view for a moment, and we'll take a look at this channel here. Now, this view might look unfamiliar to you if you haven't used WebAdmin before. This is called Flow View, and we'll talk about how to get back to the classic tab view if that's what you want to see, the old school view. For now, let's stick with this. I've grown to like this view quite a bit. Flow View is cool because it shows you more information in less space. So I can see all the connectors in one place, and I have little icons here that tell me kind of maybe what's going on. So for example, I moused over it here. This icon means there's one transformer, right? So that's nice. In the old client, sometimes if it got too long, the edit transformer with the count kind of got cut off. You don't have that problem anymore. If I were to, for example, turn on source queuing for this connector, I see that queue appear there, right? And if I were to turn on destination queuing, same thing. I see destination queuing is now there as well. And if I were to create a filter, we'd see a new icon, so forth and so on. So I like this quite a bit. If I were to add a destination here, piece of cake, I can also reorder these if I want with a simple drag and drop. So kind of a bit more modern take. Now, having said that, let's say that maybe we don't like this view, Calvin, bring back the old school, where's my tab view? No worries, that's here too. So over here in the upper right, I can click tab view and get something a little more familiar where they're kind of segregated by, excuse me, their tab. So we have the source tab. Now the edit filter and transformer are up here at the top, but that's not a major learning curve, I don't think. Same for destinations. They're up here kind of at the top. One other minor change if you want to use this view, if you want to reorder the destinations, you do have to drag and drop those. But other than that, they work pretty much the way they always have. Another nice thing in here that's the same whether it's flow or destination view is the way these destination mappings are grouped. So you may remember before they were kind of all one big list of stuff and there's variables and functions, and frankly it was kind of a mess. This is a lot more coherent, especially if you're new to the product. You know, okay, these are variables that pertain to the message and these pertain to the channel. If I scroll down here, now all these utilities, kind of these functions, those are in a separate group as well. So just a lot more user-friendly. And I'm hoping you'll notice a trend here. There's lots and lots and lots of kind of user-friendliness, stuff that bugs us that we wanted to fix type things in here. And again, this tour will not cover all of those. They're really spread throughout the entire UI. Let's take a look at the message browser for a moment. So you'll notice we have this messages category. That's new, that's a top level option. Now, this messages view is pretty familiar to how it used to be the view messages view. It has some nice features though. The first one is I can view messages from any channel by using this drop down. So I no longer have to choose the channel and then view the messages. I can come in here and do the opposite. The search options work the same way they always have, you know, the dates and the filtering and so forth. Again, I'll kind of focus on what's new, not what's the same here. If I were to open up one of these messages, you notice the default view has this side by side. So this is a new view. You have again customization here. So if I want to flip this to the bottom layout, that's the more kind of classic view. That's baked in, no problem. We can flip back and forth, right? I'm getting more used to this right layout personally. You'll also have some options here, the ability to wrap or not wrap message data. You know, each line, that's an option. We've always had the pretty printer, the formatting of XML messages, not really applicable here to this HL7 message, but that's now been enabled as a checkbox you can control here instead of a global setting. One other small creature comfort I'll call out while we're here. You may recall in the classic UI, if you had like a tick or a single apostrophe character, you know, in a person's name or something like that, the whole rest of this row would appear as red. It would try and read it as, you know, markup. That's no longer the case. Simply having a tick in your name no longer throws the system into chaos. Again, just some small creature comfort type things. Let's look at code templates for a moment. There's a couple changes in here. There's actually more than a couple, but I'll highlight a couple. The first is this is sortable alphabetically. It works correctly now. Now, of course, in my example here, you have to forgive me. I only have one library actually set up. But if I had multiple ones, they can be alphabetically sorted. And if I look at my code templates, I hit this dependencies button here. Check this out. So, excuse me, it shows the relationship between this code template and other code templates. So if they're called by or they call another one, you can see that relationship. That has never existed in the product historically. It's a completely new feature. So this is a very basic function. It just concatenates two strings, kind of puts them together, right? This other code template here, if I look at this, it's calling the other code template, and you can see that here is calling that concat values function. So pretty neat. Really neat if you're in a large complex system with all kinds of things going on and you're not sure what's connected to what. That could be tremendously helpful. I can also use this find usage button if I want to. It will show me if it's found somewhere else. Now, while we're here, let's take a look at one other area. Let's look at this config search option here. So what's neat about this is it's kind of a ginormous global search, and we can search in all these different categories. what's a use case for this? So let's say you're working on a channel, maybe you inherited it from somebody else, and it's calling a function that you don't know where the function lives or kind of what it does necessarily. In my example here, let's use the word concat because that's part of the name of the function we looked at a moment ago back in the code templates. I'll type in concat and I'll do a search here. So it came back and told me this is the one I was imagining in my mind, this function here, concat values. Oh, okay. So now I know if I saw that function in a channel transformer, for example, I know it's actually coming from the sample code template, but I can, of course, see really any reference to it. So I can see here it's actually referenced, of course, in the other code template, and then this channel here is also utilizing it. That's, again, totally brand new thing that's never existed before. Pretty cool. And I think you'll see some, as you have with all the stuff we've looked at, I think you'll continue to see more advancements, more refinements in some of these features as we kind of navigate through this beta process together with the community. That kind of wraps up what I think are some of the most interesting things. There's lots more stuff in here worth looking at. If you're interested in this beta, you should come on our website, innovarhealthcare.com, and I'll have links in the description to take you right to the WebAdmin page if you want to read more about that. Right now, we're in open beta, which is free to join, and it's very easy to install. I have a separate video on that process. It takes about 5-10 minutes, no big deal. We appreciate your time today and look forward to talking with you again in the future.